Okay, so we already talked about the fundamental theorem of algebra. This should be in your notes from a couple of days ago, so you don't need to write that down. But basically, and that should say has, not. Here we go. A polynomial function with the highest degree of n has n roots. All right. So again, like I said, we've already talked about this. This includes all the imaginary numbers, complex numbers, repeated roots, irrational, rational, like all the things. Okay. So again, that should already be in your notes. All right, let's start here. Go ahead and plug this into y equals.
Bro.
I think it's because you look at me right when he says something, so I think you're talking.
But I'm like always looking at you because you're the teacher.
Because I'm the teacher. I am the teacher, aren't I?
Because you're at the front of the room.
I need to be fair.
And you're walking around. Respect.
Well,
All right, so let's plug this into y equals. Sorry, it's going to cover it for a second. There you go.
Do you think all teachers should get MacBooks?
Do I think all teachers should what?
Get MacBooks instead of like the crappy school computer that they give you?
Oh, 100%. But some other, some teachers don't like Macs.
Oh, well then get them like a Dell or something.
Yeah. I was like, 100% I want a Mac.
give him a Chromebook.
Give him a Chromebook.
What day is the test on?
The day, whatever our day before fall break is.
The 12th. No, October 9th is fall break.
In the same spot.
Yeah, I think we have 7th. The 7th, we got 2 weeks.
Okay, so when we look at this graph, do not trust a double root unless you have to. So we're at 2. So at least one of our zeros is 2. I am not going to let you go without having enough information that gets you down to a quadratic. All right, so if we look at our graph, what we could do is we could zoom in a little bit. In some cases, they're real mean and it looks like a double root, but in reality, it comes down in just a little bit further. But this one doesn't seem to do that, okay? So that is a genuine double root there. So we're going to use, let me make this smaller. We're going to use 2 twice to break this down. Okay, I don't know if y'all remember how to use the synthetic division twice. But you start with one of them. Are we missing any variables? Yeah, x cubed. I have 1, then I have a 0, -6, -8, and 24. Go ahead and use synthetic division to break that down. So if I have told you that it is a 0, or your calculator has, whoops, hold on. Can't write and talk at the same time apparently this morning. Then you should get 0 as a remainder, okay? So this is taking it from x to the 4th now down to x cubed, all right? But we need it down to a quadratic, and since it's a double root, we're going to use 2 again, but we're going to use it with the numbers that we last had, okay? numbers. We're wanting to continue to break this down so we don't just keep using the top numbers, the original equation numbers. All right, go ahead and break this down again. And if you try to double root, then it didn't work, then you would know that it wasn't a double root. Okay. All right, so now since this was x to the fourth up here, this would have been x cubed, so this is x squared. And if you notice, we did not find our other two solutions on the calculator, which means they're probably going to be imaginary, okay? So if I can't find them, well, if I look at it and say, what are two numbers that multiply to get 6 but add to get 4, they don't exist. So the quadratic formula. Does anyone want me to say it for him?
No.
X equals opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. That's always hard to do. All over 2a.
This is a better song.
I like that song.
She liked it. Just 'cause you
X
like it.
equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. All over 2a. Don't listen to any math teacher that calls it negative b. They're always wrong.
Yeah, Miss Happy's always wrong.
I'm just kidding.
Never thought-
But really.
never thought you said that.
Yeah. You're in some real deep waters.
So if you are not familiar with and had maybe be a little rusty from doing this before, I'd plug in what's inside the radical first. So negative 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 8 over 2. We reduce our radical, so that ends up becoming what?
2.828.
It's 2 items.
2 over 2.
That's just
Over
straight.
2.
Okay? And if you had me before, I did something that was called the Dorito chip.
No, she's serious. Yeah, I wish she wasn't, but she is.
What are you saying about me?
I said I wish you weren't serious, but you are. So
About a Dorito chip?
about like the name, yeah.
I gotta get it to work though. Ah, that's red. I need it to be orange. There it is.
Basically, yeah.
Correct.
All right. Dorito chips, since they are all divisible by 2, we can divide them all by 2. So negative 2 plus or minus I square root of 2 over 1, but we're not going to put the over 1 part. Okay?
Oh, it's just to remind yourself not to divide this square root.
Yeah, I do not include the square root.
Yeah.
All 3 pieces have to be divisible before I can do it. That's why it's the Dorito chip. And then I had kids in my other class had a full-blown argument that a Dorito chip is not a triangle.
What is a CP class?
I would say that it's because it's rounded points. Is that right? Okay. I mean, but like, that's thinking about it too much. It looks like
You're right, it's not a triangle.
Like y'all's age group needs something to argue about.
We have plenty.
You won't let us argue about things that matter.
Yeah.
I love how you're saying that
No,
to me.
Dr. Spees won't let us talk about things that matter.
Gotcha.
I want your
I always
input
end up
about your
arguing with
schedule, but
classes
it's happening no
and
matter what.
Yeah. All
right, so-
Thing.
This was in your homework last night about a complex conjugate. If you have an A plus BI, you also have an A minus BI. So these are some of those thank you and move on questions on the test. It's on the next slide. But basically, I can ask you, hey, this is the highest degree of 4. One of your zeros is 2, one of them's 3, and one of them's 2 plus 4i. What's your missing 0? Literally just 2 minus 4i. Okay. I've had students that will take the 2 real ones and use synthetic division and break it down, and they end up finding them that way. That's fine. But if I'm literally telling you all the zeros and the only one's missing is the complex conjugate, you literally just write the complex conjugate. Okay, they have to go hand in hand.
So, like, what's the reason that there's always something?
How many times have you seen in a polynomial that there's an imaginary number there? You haven't. How many times have you seen a radical
Frequently.
in a polynomial, though?
No.
Like, how many times do you see?
Let's see what she wrote it.
Whoops.
Yeah, that would
Or something like that.
yeah.
It wouldn't look like that anyways. But radicals and imaginary numbers, both of them. That's why we always had the A plus the square root of B. That conjugate was A minus the square root of B. They always went hand in hand together with the roots. Same thing for A plus BI and A minus
This is
BI.
sort of technically beyond.
All right. So the degree is 3. I have told you that one of the zeros is 3 and one is 4 minus I. What's my other 0? 4 plus I.
This is it.
Yeah, that's it.
Sometimes these things are easier.
But I guarantee you, someone on the test is going to start making up some math of some sort.
All math made up.
It's a great question. It's proved though, so would that be made up still?
Well, I mean,
It's
what
only
if,
proof within the bounds of what we've made.
what if they started making stuff up but got the right answer?
That is kind of pretty awesome.
I've done that multiple times on your test,
Yeah.
and well, I wouldn't say it's making it. It's just making it far more complicated than it has to be. But I still get the right answer because I couldn't remember how to do the easy way. So
Right.
I just did the hard way.
That happens.
Yeah.
So the highest degree is 6. The only reason why they tell you the highest degree possible is that you don't start making up other zeros to go along with it. Okay. So what are the other 2 that are missing here?
Whatever the other one was.
So you only change the sign, only change the sign in the middle. All right. -3 still stays negative. It's a mistake a lot of people make too.
Khan Academy also said that.
Okay. What'd you say?
I said Khan Academy also said that. When I saw the word conjugate, and I was like, I know what that is, but not right now.
Yeah.
And so I went for it.
That's good for you that you went and looked it up. That's good.
Thank you. I just did my homework this time.
Just kidding. Okay. So let's start off with, let's just do number 3. Let's see how long that takes us. And I want a polynomial, which on the quiz, did y'all see what was underlined?
Leave in the factored form.
Leave in factored form. So I saw on tons of y'all's quizzes where y'all had multiplied it out. And I think that's what took a lot of y'all's time is that you went ahead and multiplied it out and I said leave in factored form. So you just had to leave it in the parentheses. All right, so what are my zeros that are missing here?
3 plus 2.
Okay. All right, so we're going to multiply all of this together. You're going to treat this as if it is like those radicals we were doing when we ended up doing the box and multiplying it that way. So we have x minus 3 plus 2i. We have x minus 3 minus 2i. And we have x minus 4 with a multiplicity of 2, which means I have 2 of them. Multiply it out. Just like we did the radicals, but now we got imaginary numbers.
Oh, okay. This can't be done on a calculator.
No.
I thought you were gonna do the old classic teacher trick where you make us do it the hard way and show us that you can just do it in the calculator.
There is another way to do this, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's a shortcut.
Can you show the other way?
It's treating the first two like conjugates and doing the a squared minus b squared stuff. Try not to look up here until you're done. All right, just for time's sake, go ahead and have this written out for y'all.
That was just no, I don't.
Did I do something wrong?
I don't know. Probably not.
Hey, it's possible. I've only had 2 sips of coffee.
No.
Let me know if I did.
Oh, cash money.
Was it me or you?
Wait. Is it cash money?
It is.
Cash money. I can't tell what's cash money. It's cash money.
I'm not doing it again. I just know I did it wrong. I'm just saying I did it wrong.
That's the spirit.
Well, it was a mistake early in the process, and so that just means that. No, I didn't. I already did that. No, I don't like the boxes. I don't like the boxes. Because I don't want it to be easy. Come to school be challenged.
Oh. Cash money. Okay.
Normally I spread out my work and answered everything like that all over the whiteboard, but again, trying to keep it on here so it's recorded.
You know, it was close.
Huh?
My answer was close.
Which one did you?
I did not multiply negative 2i and 2i correctly.
Okay.
I was just like, it's 0. I hope.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah, that one, if I wanted to do that one in what I like to call slow motion, that would be negative 4i squared, and then the I squared makes it a positive.
Yeah.
Did anyone get it? Good. This is.
Yeah.
Do it.
Like 10 minutes.
I know. Well, and that's the thing. So there is one of these on the test. All right. Just one. Just one. Notice how we started with imaginary numbers and then we didn't end with any imaginary numbers in our answer. Every year I end up with kids that give me imaginary numbers in their final answer. So do not forget that complex conjugate because that is what makes it disappear. Showing all your work, that way when I'm going through, I skip looking at all of this and then I look here and I say, okay, they added their X value wrong. Okay, then I go back and I look at what you did there. But by showing all of it gives you majority of the credit too. Yeah.
I just realized that I did it wrong. Like my problem was like instead of 14x, it was 8, and then my 77 was 71 because I had a negative 6x squared instead of a negative 6x3.
Oh, you wrote squared instead of cubed?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. The more y'all show me on those, because there is a lot of room for error, that the more you show me, the more I can help you on partial credit. Okay? All right. Let's move on.
Is this the 6th? Are all the 6 problems on the homework like this?
No, they're probably going to be more like the first one we did. So, I am giving you an imaginary number without a calculator. If I gave you a calculator, you would find the other 2 zeros.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you a imaginary number. We know the other 0 is what?
X or 3 plus 2.
I'm giving you 2 zeros. What can I do?
I know.
That was him.
I don't think I said anything.
You
Oh, it's down the hall.
You do the X, you like multiply them together, like the X minus and the X plus or x minus 3 plus 2i, and then whatever that is, you take the original and divide it by that.
How?
Like you just
Just do it.
you
How?
divide it, like long division.
Long division. It's back. All right. So yes, 100% he's correct. So you are going to first have to multiply your two zeros as factors and get a polynomial. Once you get that solution, you're then going to do long division with that, with the original, and then find your other two zeros. You can do it. Y'all are all capable of doing it. Will it take effort? Yes.
This is the stuff in math that I think that we like.
This is the stuff in math I just think this is fun.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's just straight up algebra.
Straight up.
Straight up.
Got it.
Good stuff.
Here's a-
Oh, right. I am.
It's just the same thing we did last night. Some people were writing what I did last night.
Ah, he caught me. Yeah, do y'all notice it's the same one you already did? Yes, do it again, get that practice, but yeah, I wonder every year, I wonder if they're gonna catch on. You caught on.
Great. We're actually kind of lucky if it wasn't. We're doing this all wrong.
All of us taking another 5 minutes just to do this.
Let's see. So dramatic. The drama. Have I told this class about the tutoring that's available?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know. I probably forgot.
There's a schedule up here in the front, and there's a schedule in the back, and then there's QR codes as well. So the 7 a.m. won't help y'all because you're in 7 a.m. Bless you.
Should we go ahead and do long division?
Should we go again?
I'm sure we are.
Do the division. Okay.
The division?
Is that the baby?
Since y'all have caught on that it's the same thing, I'm still going to multiply it out for the note's sake.
How do we know if we can use synthetic division?
If it's a linear.
Linear binomial.
Yeah, we cannot be doing it.
You can argue that you could actually do synthetic division with these, with the imaginary numbers. It'd get messy,
Yeah, I'm not.
but you can get it.
Do you want me to argue with you?
Do I ever want you to argue with me?
Possible.
Sometimes I think you do.
At 7 a.m.?
It's not 7 a.m.
7 a.m. class.
7 a.m. class.
Oh boy,
We
here we
didn't say
go.
that.
This is when he wants to argue.
Language is important.
Here's the deal. We've discussed this a couple of times. I have not had enough coffee yet.
Okay, well maybe you should drink faster.
It's hot.
Well,
Okay,
it's nice to
Just
drink
drink
cold
enough.
Yeah,
Make iced coffee.
There are
yeah.
solutions to these problems.
There are solutions.
And you've made
And
sure-
it might
not
require
imaginary.
some people being removed.
Okay. I got you. It's fine. I'm not upset.
Please don't cry. You know how I handle tears.
I know.
That's what we'll do it.
Do you handle
Which
it
makes
well?
me wonder what
Yeah,
mental
I-
trauma
I-
your son's going to go.
She eats them.
Poor Chase.
She drinks.
She drinks them?
Wedgies?
Carter,
What?
you heard the man.
Wow. Me.
What about you?
Dang. You're cut off.
Cut off?
Mhm.
What does that mean?
You're not allowed to speak.
Oh, I
Not allowed to
know.
speak anymore? Huh?
I'm definitely doing a long division now.
That's fine. fine. I mean, she thinks
Probably
that
also
you guys
doing
are-
it.
I'm doing it right.
Some no.
I've already lost.
Who wants to get through it right now?
You may have
That is
chosen
not what I
but you
did.
definitely will win, or I don't have.
Well, I'm gonna
any.
start.
I mean, X squared. Oh, well, it doesn't matter what my numbers are.
Did you?
So there are built-in checkers, if you will, throughout this process. One meaning we don't have any imaginary numbers left, so I'm at least on the right track in regards to multiplying my conjugates together. When I do long division, I should not get a remainder. If you get a remainder, then you did something wrong, okay? Then from there, you can then, it should be able to be factored or do the quadratic formula. In this case, I'll give you a hint, it can be factored.
Is there a way of making this one less, like, I don't know. I get confused by all the numbers because they're just written out like that. So is there like a box for long division that isn't synthetic?
No. What I would suggest though, since you said you get confused with all that, is I would do colors of some sort. Like I would, so for me, I always underline just the first thing because that's all I'm interested in. And then I'm gonna multiply what I find from there. Switching up the colors might help, but
Oh, I did it.
I don't think I did it, and I'm not even done.
Alright, what did you get?
What? I can't tell. I can't tell that answer. I think,
You can do it.
you think I'm a hooligan or something, David?
He is a hooligan.
Indeed.
bless you.
So hooligan. That's the way she was good.
This is not good. Oh, so far it's good. Maybe.
Where did I go? What was your birthday? What day were you?
Damn.
April 15th, 2004.
No.
5.
Yeah.
Just check. What's your opinion on Chester Downs?
My opinion on that.
The picture down.
Don't feel like
I-
Kevin.
Don't.
You don't? Just asking.
Also, majority of the time, I can't get my opinion on things.
I did wrong.
Well, not anymore.
Yeah.
But you could like blink once for yes. I could give you different responses.
That would be me responding.
Or you could just take like, you could take an accurate like alignment quiz and just be like, oops, I left it on the board.
Again. When there's a will, there's a way. Don't find a way.
I'm about to turn into a corn over here.
I took mine, apparently I've heard of a Greek party.
You know where I'm going.
I've heard of and American Solidarity, something else.
Birthday.
Okay, so after doing long division, I should end up with x squared minus 3x minus 10. Okay? What are factors of negative 10 that get me negative 3? Negative 5, positive 2.
Oh, and then I got the factor.
So then we just get x equals 5 and x equals negative 2
So why can't you plug in this calculator?
because this would be on like a non-calculator portion. Because if it was calculator, you would plug it into y equals, you would have gotten those two. And then you have the conjugate and you did no work.
That's not the best way.
What if I like had like a calculator, like it was like implanted in my brain, like a chip?
I believe it's called your brain.
I believe it's the brain, yeah.
Yeah, but that one malfunctioned.
You just use
This
the
one-
calculator that is implanted in your brain right now.
This one.
No,
No, like it's like a computer chip. And you can,
Right,
it's
you
like
just
a-
did it.
No, but like,
I'm gonna get a function calculator.
That took a lot
my
longer.
brain can't do this.
But a tattoo isn't gonna do anything
Like
for
if
you.
I had like a TI-84 like in my head.
It moves.
When you create it, let me know, and I'll let my
Someone-
students be the
someone
guinea
get in touch
pigs
with
for
you.
your.
Someone get in touch
I
with
feel
you.
like that's worse.
There might be
Any of
some
the
cancerous
restrictions
side
that have been
effects.
placed on you recently? I feel like just letting your
It's
students.
the sacrifice of
Any
I
of
may
these-
not ever use it after I graduate.
To a calculator that's tattooed on their arm.
It'd be a cool
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Okay.
No.
Wow.
No.
No. Okay. Now you can use your calculator.
Oh
Never
yeah.
mind, I take it back.
Oh yeah.
All right. Find all my zeros.
Okay, it's still gonna be complicated.
I can't wait to do this wrong either.
It's still gonna be complicated. You guys are. I already see I already envision what's gonna happen.
What's gonna
We're
what's
gonna
gonna
get
happen?
2 zeros. We're gonna have to divide it, and it's gonna have a manual.
It's literally complex zeros. Like that's the title
That's
of
the
the
title,
lesson,
yeah.
and you were like, no, I think I know what's gonna happen.
Oh.
Well,
I really
It's
understand.
hard to know something we
Yo,
know.
why it curved like that?
Wow.
everyone was
So
saying,
why'd you say it like that?
Y'all just came alive.
Well, the graph literally just goes.
Why it curved like
We
that?
literally have the exact same amount of words.
Why it curved like that?
But why do it curve like that?
Makes this graph looking like a fig.
Let's keep it appropriate, please.
Why it curved like that though?
Keep it appropriate.
It just stops and curves.
Well, I guess I don't have to see the bottom of the graph. I just wanted to.
Why does he do that?
It was necessary, dude.
What 2 zeros did your calculator give you?
-1.6.
-1 and 6.
Why do I have the option to pause the generation of my graph? As
don't
if I would ever want to do that.
How do you do that?
Because you might have pressed it prematurely, and it's gonna take forever to.
But you can't do anything.
No, yeah, you pause it and you're stuck there.
Yeah, like you have to let the graph go.
Oh, I missed
You just have to-
always do second off.
I'm gonna turn it off.
It did.
It's already on.
It did.
If you like have your graph and you like generate it. hold on.
There we go.
Like generate your graph and then press enter.
Oh, you're already doing it.
It does not matter which 0 you start with. If you start with -1 first and then you do 6, you're just still gonna get the same answer if you do it the other way.
You don't do that.
I'm regretting not leaving more room.
You not do any use of that division. Right, yes.
Maybe.
For some reason, 0.696 in my head is not equal. That's alright.
That's not what I meant to do.
Is this what the homework's like? Oh, terrible. Wait, are we gonna like do the problem before this one? On me?
It's actually awesome.
Oh, whoa. I might not be in this class next week.
Over that, come on. Let me give you something harder.
No, it's just my excuse. the breaking point. It's like 13.
Yeah, no.
Trust me. Let me show you something else more difficult than that before you quit.
Oh, that doesn't sound.
It's not difficult, it just takes long.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't like things that take more than 10 seconds.
Fair enough.
10 patience.
That's all.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have room on my paper, and I have to go to the second one.
Oh, I don't let that happen. There was one one lesson that we had where I ran out of like paper on both sides, and so I just stopped taking notes.
Oh, I
That's probably why I didn't write down like how to complete the square, because I think I ran out of room and I didn't want to do anymore.
it's not super important.
Well, it wasn't because I
We all know James weakness, no?
compulsion.
It'd be positive 26 for me.
We're just gonna erase that into 26. Are there factors of 26 that get me a negative 10?
4.
What?
I don't know. I mean,
No, there aren't. All right, so quadratic formula.
That's kind of stupid.
So if it can be factored, great. If it can't, always quadratic formula will work.
If it could have been factored, wouldn't it show up on the graph?
Yes and no. Your graph is a 10 by 10.
I mean, you can make it.
I mean, like
You can make it, yeah, and you can look at your table, but I mean,
it'd be a real zero.
it'd be one of those that you would have to actually look for. But
I make my graph big.
do what?
I just make my graph like super big, so they have to do everything. It gets does everything.
Sure. All right, so we got 10 squared, which is 100. 4 times 26, which gets me negative 4. What's the square root of negative 4?
Don't know what else.
2i. And Dorito chip, we can divide it all out so we get 5 plus or minus I.
Even if you do it the wrong way. Wait, can I leave it as 5 plus minus 5? Or do I have to write it out?
Huh?
I wrote mine out as 5 plus I and 5 minus I.
That's fine.
Or can I leave it as that?
Yeah.
Alright.
Will
Mathematicians are lazy. That's why they created the plus or minus symbol so they didn't have to write it
we would have
twice.
stopped at addition if they were lazy.
so musicians. Did you So will they count that on like the SGC?
That's multiple choice, so
Oh, okay.
Oh,
There's another choice?
so I can cheat on them like freakishly hard.
there's going to be 5.
Five, five.
Multiple choice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a 20% chance. I like my odds.
I like my odds.
Yeah, but I can still plug in all of them into like whatever the question is asking, and then one of them is gonna work.
That's how I got like number 10 on our unit 1 quiz, right? I forgot how to do the thing, so I just like
So
plugged
just,
them
yeah,
all.
just
Yeah,
throw it
it
in.
was like the paper was like. I'm surprised you don't remember that because I told you I was like I'm sorry, but that's the right answer and I know it is.
Last year?
No, it did this year. It was like number 10, and it had to do something with like the points of a quadratic or something, and I couldn't remember how to actually do it, so instead I took all the points and plugged it into the equation until I got what I was looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got the question right.
I did that on the
100%. If I'm going to be completely honest, I probably just looked that you got the right answer and moved on.
Maybe like on the test packet though, it was like all over the entire front page because it took so much.
Yeah. That's a lot.
I did that on the quiz, like the third question that you had to like graph it.
Has everyone taken the quiz? I think everyone has. I didn't want to. Okay.
The third question how you had to graph it and get all the information on it. I just did 1 for X and 2 for X. x and then 3 squared x.
Yeah.
And then I got the graph.
And then you
like,
just pull the information from the graph, as you should. All right. The only other examples I have on here are just different scenarios of the ending result. What I mean by that is the process is still the same. Y'all are going to look in your calculator, you're going to do synthetic division, and then you're going to either factor or do quadratic formula. Okay. Do we need to see more examples of those?
No.
I just wanna write that down so I can do it again.
I've got a handful of them.
I'm
Good on you. Good on you.
I don't have that much memory.
I've used my.
Are they all set here?
Okay. Then there's that one.
Infinity can fit in your hand. Can you tell me about them?
And I can check them for you too if you want me to. Okay. And then the only other examples I had was more multiplying them out. So we did, I think, a good amount of those with the 2.3 lesson. Okay. So 2.5